What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? The San Francisco 49ers have extended kicker Eddy Pineiro, signing him to a 4-year, $17 million deal. $10 million of that is guaranteed. Now, this was something that the Niners needed to get done, right? I mean, free agency starts technically on Monday. That's the legal tampering period with the new league year beginning on Wednesday. And so the Niners had to get this done. I feel like they could not let him out the, you know, building. Now I get it, kicker's a position where, yeah, if, your team has a good kicker, you're not gonna, you know, be looking for a kicker, right? But then there's a lot of things because if you sign guys to an extension, sometimes they don't do too well, and then you just get rid of them. Kicker's a very tough position and a very kind of easy thing to replace, where it's like at least team wise, people are like, okay, we're gonna replace that guy as soon as things are going wrong. It feels like now, Eddy Pineiro came in, off the street, right? We had Jake Moody, the Niners were like, all right, we're going to get one more try. Brant Boyer's the new special teams coordinator. We bring in John Weeks. We feel like, okay, watching the film, John Weeks will make, Jake Moody's life easier. So, last offseason, they get rid of Tabor Pepper, bring in John Weeks, and it worked for a little bit, but Jake Moody still struggled. And in the end, the 49ers just moved on from the former third round pick out of Michigan. And then the 49ers, not just that, but during the offseason, they bring in some, competition at the kicker position. But Jake Moody, wins the competition over a guy like Greg Joseph. It felt like that was always the case just because Jake Moody has that third round kind of tag at the time. And so, Greg Joseph doesn't make the team. But then, the Niners are like, obviously, going after the season once Jacob Moody's struggling. They're like, okay, we got to go get another kicker. And Eddy Pineiro's out there on the street. No one's signed him. And this was a guy that I actually was hoping that the Niners would have signed in the offseason. But, knowing Kyle Shanahan, it always felt like he wasn't really going to bring in someone that could beat out Jake Moody. Knowing Kyle Shanahan, when I feel like you just got to bring in the best guy and, let the have a real competition. That's what the Niners really didn't have. But then Eddy Pineiro, man, he was fantastic, overall for San Francisco. I thought, really good for the Niners on, extra points, even field goals. I felt like there was never a time where I was like, having to be super nervous. I think it was only in the beginning because obviously the Niners were, just coming off of Jacob Moody. But Eddy Pineiro, man, he was fantastic for the 49ers. 96.6% field goal percentage on the season. Extra points, 89.5. On the season, played in 14 games for the 49ers. 28 for 29 with the field goals. And that missed field goal was, I believe, a 64 yard maybe field goal that he missed, and he barely missed that. I mean, that was not a kick I blamed him for whatsoever. But in terms of the other kind of yardage, 5 for 5 from 20 to 29 yards, 7 for 7 from 30 to 39 yards, 10 for 10 on 40 to 49 yards, and then 50 plus. 6 for 7, 59 was his long that I guess he made. But yeah, I thought he did really good for the Niners. Just came in, understood that, if he did not perform, he was going to be out. And Eddy Pineiro, man, was fantastic. So really happy the Niners got this done right before the legal tampering period. Now, the only guy, and it seems like the Niners are going to bring him back. If you don't follow my Twitter or Instagram, you might not seen this report, but this was just a couple days ago. Actually, this was about 12 hours ago from recording this video, from ESPN's Nick Wagner saying 49ers free agent kicker Eddy Pineiro's deal will probably land in the $4 to $5 range in average. So he was right on there. And that kind of felt like when the Niners were really going to get this deal done. But yeah, the other report, let me find it real quick. Yeah, so this was about a day ago or so. According to Matt Barrows, he had this huge article that he wrote on The Athletic, and there was a piece in it that he said that the 49ers are pursuing deals with kicker Eddy Pineiro and punter Thomas Morstead. So again, Thomas Morstead is the last guy that they need to sign out of this kind of special teams core. John Weeks, done. Eddy Pineiro, done. Now it's Thomas Morstead that the Niners have to sign. So we'll see what ends up happening. Maybe he's thinking about retirement. But if he's not retiring, I feel like the Niners will probably end up, signing him. It should be probably a 1-year deal. I feel like it should be pretty easy, but I think Niners were just focused on getting this Eddy Pineiro thing done. Wouldn't be shocking if, it gets done early on in free agency, especially if Thomas Morstead's made that decision. So we'll see, guys. We'll be here to break it down when it happens, though. But make sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe button as we try to hit that 300 mark. Would greatly appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Peace out, and let's go Niners.